baby.
Damn it.
Yeah. No, but thank you guys for coming to hang out, man. I'm a big fan of
glad to
comics
be here.
and tattoos and stuff, so that's awesome.
Perfect.
This was supposed to happen a month ago, Alex.
Yeah, so that's what I was talking about earlier. I actually had the dates wrong, and
We sat at this table
we
for
sat
a
down
long
and
time.
we're like, I wonder if they know they're going to be here. Then I looked down and I had like a month. I had the wrong date. I had the wrong date. It was on me.
Well, I'm glad.
Did we record that
glad it's
part?
not on us.
Can we do a flashback to that? Were we recording then?
I don't think so. It was before we got started.
Damn. Okay.
And then I was like, okay, this week's a wash. And then Nick was like, well, I'll just sit down and talk. And so he jumped on and we had a rad conversation with our buddy Nick. So thanks
Nice.
for coming.
Very cool.
But yeah, man, how's shop life these days?
I would say shop life is pretty good.
Okay,
Staying busy. Yeah.
Yeah.
awesome. Well, I know we're kind of over the hump of the great pandemic that's been plaguing our society for so long. Hopefully, I know there's like another variant out there. I'm sure
There's always more.
there's always more. It's never ending. We're gonna be dealing with this for the rest of our lives. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
Get excited.
Back in my day, we had COVID-1.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
All the different variations.
Nick, what you flagging me down for?
The chewing gum in the mic is.
Oh, shit.
Oh, who's chewing gum?
Me.
Oh, yeah. Don't do that.
Just stick it underneath the table.
That's gone.
All
Yeah,
right.
with all my other ones.
Hold the wires.
Save
in
it for
place.
next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have even noticed that. Just the crazy smacking
Sorry.
noises.
So yeah, the pandemic was something we definitely dealt with. It's and are dealing with, but it hadn't really slowed us down. It's actually kind of rocketed us forward in some ways.
Okay.
Which
Awesome.
there's always like a little bit of like guilt with that. It's like, why is my business thriving during a pandemic?
I guess
but-
people are reading more.
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
To-
when people
sure.
were stuck at home, they couldn't go out. They're saving their bar money. They may as well buy a book or comic or something.
Comics, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know when it first started, I mean, like people in the tattoo industry was seen as like a kind of a non-essential thing. No offense, but I know that must have been tough. Like obviously people could still come in and buy books or maybe do online ordering.
So at the very beginning, what we were shut down for 6 weeks.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so that's when I put together an online store, and I was mailing a lot of stuff out. But yeah, you weren't working at all.
No, I was coming in helping Wes like digitize and pack up and stuff like that. And we still got subscriptions out and extra books bought and stuff like that. So
That's cool.
pretty busy.
Now, you guys didn't have an online store, but I guess before
No,
the
yeah,
heyday.
no online store, and I mean the day the notice went out about retail stores shut down, it's like, well, I guess
It's time,
I guess I
baby.
know what I got to do.
Yeah.
I'm putting it off long enough.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, dude, let's take a step back, man. How did you guys team up and start this endeavor, Sanctum Tattoos and Comics?
It was your idea.
Yeah, so I'd been tattooing for 10-ish years at that point and wanted to do more. I'd known Wes forever, and we were both big comic book fans. We'd been to San Diego Comic-Con a few times together. And I thought if I was going to do this, I need somebody I can trust, somebody I like, somebody I know will put in the work. And I got this sucker on board and kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah.
So did you know ahead of time that you wanted to open a tattoo and comic book store?
Yeah, kind of. With a tattoo shop, you have the spaces where you work, your actual, what do you call it? A
Station?
booth or what? Station, whatever. And then you have your lobby where people are just sitting around. So you may as well have something going on. And I'd always been interested in opening comic shop. I worked in shops a long, long time ago.
Yeah, we had both worked in comic book shops in the past, so we sort of had our vague understanding of how they worked.
Okay.
Coming into it.
I was pretty sure, like, starting out, like, a comic shop can't really support itself just out the door. So I figured combining the two businesses would be good. Also, I couldn't split my time between two places. So it was just easier and accomplished everything I wanted to.
What were you doing before? I guess this is a question to both of you guys. What were y'all doing before the Sanctum idea came to fruition?
I was tattooing at Arrowchild that was over on 23rd Street on Southside. The guy that taught me how to tattoo owns that shop. So it was kind of hard to leave there, but he was cool and actually closed that shop to come work with us.
Wow.
But yeah, we were over there that shop was open for 15 years, I think.
Oh wow,
Ooh.
Yeah.
that's crazy. Oh yeah, a lot of history on what that's.
Now you're the
Magnolia?
boss now. How's that feel?
Yeah, you're the
sorta.
boss. Whenever there's a problem, I say, Aaron, what are we gonna do about this?
Yeah.
And then
Aaron.
then I don't answer my text or go and hide.
Aaron, how do we fix the air conditioner? I don't know how to do this.
We had to do that the other day. It was super great. I love that.
Well, at least it's not middle of July. you know.
Right. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
caught it before that.
Right.
So a tattoo shop that had been around 15 years. Did you were just like ready to start your own thing and branch off and do something else, or was it ending at the kind of the
No.
same time?
I'd been interested in it a while. I'd actually been approached by a couple of people opening another business, and spoke to our current landlord, who was kind of pushing on me too. So I figured, now's a good chance. Rent was decent,
Okay.
and Avondale's blowing up.
Yeah, that whole area, man. We had Orr on last week, John Tubbs, really rad dude. And so, what was the timeline? I know that were you guys when you guys opened that space? What else was in the shopping center at the time?
Not much. It was Shepherd's Pet Supply and Family Dollar.
Yeah,
I was gonna
Oh, so
ask if
Family Dollar's
Family
still
Dollar was
there.
still there.
Okay.
So they're it was mostly empty. So
You guys were the catalyst.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess so.
So is it Payne? Is that the guy that you're referring to? Okay,
Yeah.
because John said he's kind of partners with him, and he's the owner of that whole strip mall, basically. And
Yeah.
So I guess the friendship. Yeah, I guess you guys already, or you, Aaron, already knew him.
I'd met him before, and then just from other people, like talking to me about businesses, I connected with him that way, and then he was like, showed me the spot and talked it up, and figured that was.
He's like, dude, this
Good
is gonna
enough.
be awesome. Love being here. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's what he said. Is like, I'm trying to get a bunch of cool places in here.
Yeah.
Oh, you did it. Yeah.
Well, dude, that's rad.
He stroked our ego a little bit, I guess.
Yeah,
You know.
definitely.
So, and we fell for it,
Okay.
and here we are.
And you guys were already friends ahead of time due to the comic relationship there.
We met at Cave 9.
Shout out Cave 9.
And
Dude, we could do a whole podcast just on Cave 9. That's all.
Maybe approximately 2004.
Yeah, that seems about right.
Yeah.
I think that's when we had our first Battle of the Bands,
Mm-hmm.
and Wes's band was in it.
Okay.
They came in third.
Yeah.
What was the band?
So we were, suburban kids that wanted to sound dangerous. So we were Steel City Crime.
Still City Crime, baby.
Yeah. Oh, man.
That's heavy, dude.
It was something.
I get tingles just saying that.
But yeah, so we met through music, and then I don't know how we figured out that we both like comics. Did you come
Wes-
into Kingdom Comics when I was working there, or?
No, Wes was after that was in Cave 9 all the time. For shows he didn't care about or whatever. He came up and volunteered. He really put a lot into that community. And then one day he had comics with him. I think it was a cleanup day or something, so it was in the afternoon, and he was sitting and reading, and I'm like, oh shit, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
And it kind of went from there. Then he told me he worked at Kingdom, and I went to visit him there. And I think my wife got to know him a little bit better too, because she was Christmas shopping for me or something.
Okay.
And she gave him a stamp of approval, so I figured I could be friends with him.
Yeah, way back when.
Well, dude, yeah, all the history there in Magnolia. I know Faith used to have a spot there, and the
Mm-hmm.
Arrow Child right next door. And then, briefly, can you give me a run through? Like, how did the idea to start the now iconic venue Cave 9 that was right across the street? We've had guests on before. They were like, "Dude, you got to have Aaron on and talk about Cave 9."
Really?
That you were kind of the spearhead behind that. So,
Yeah.
or correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I mean I was a big part of it for sure. Birmingham has always had some sort of venue for all ages, or at least punk shows that are kind of under the table. And at that point, we were down to Barnstormer's Pizza in Montevallo and house shows, I think. And since I'd come from that, always going to like record stores or whatever to shows, I'd always wanted to do it again. On top of that, we were working on ideas for a nonprofit where we would help the community and all that. So Cave 9 started from that. I was friends with Angelica. She was my partner at the time. She was dating one of my best friends, and I mentioned it to her, and she called me one day, and she's like, hey, I talked to this guy that has a space for rent, and it just kind of went from there.
What was the space before it became Cave 9? Because I don't know it. I don't know that corner before that time, I guess.
That space was empty for years, and they would do events or have storage in there, something like that. I want to say at one point it was a used clothing store.
Okay.
I know that in the 90s, American Beat Records, which, mid-90s, they did all the punk shows in town. They did anybody touring through. They could play a record shop. That's where they would be. They actually got that space for 48 hours or something, and we're going to move the shop into there. And somebody that had beef with him, which was pretty normal for that guy, came up, put glue in the locks, and then the landlord got mad at Russell was his name, and so American Beat couldn't move in there. And then Russell fled to Texas. So.
Oh,
What?
I didn't know that story.
Yeah.
American Beat Records
That's sad.
fled to Texas because somebody put glue in the locks and they couldn't
That's
move
not
it.
why he fled.
Okay, but
It just happened to all work out that way.
dude, that's crazy, man. So what was the time span of Cave 9? Because my memory's a little blurry there.
So we opened in 2003. We were there for, God, when did we shut down in 2009, I think.
2009, so 6 years.
Yeah, so we were there for 5 years, and then we got a deal to move into the space above Green Cup Books, and that didn't work out because the owner of Green Cup was difficult to work with.
Did y'all ever actually get a show there?
We had a agnostic front there,
Yeah.
which was pretty big.
Whoa.
Okay.
And it's an upstairs in a really
Sure.
old building, so it's like the floor.
floors.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, dude.
it was probably too dangerous to stay there anyway. And then we got a space. I rented a huge warehouse over on First North, I think. And let's see, we put a lot of work into it. The whole community came out, and we tore up this lot full of weeds and made a parking place. We built stages and did everything we could to make it really nice. And then our neighbors was a place called Old Car Heaven. They came over one day. This guy Jeff, that was living inside the place at the time, came over and was just being rude about everything. And I finally went to talk to him, and he's like, we just don't want you here. We're working on this venue that's going to be a multi-million-dollar venue, and
We don't want this DIY.
Right.
I mean,
punk venue.
it was
next door.
almost like something out of a movie. He's like, I don't want you punks coming around here and ruining my
my
investment.
yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Damn.
and
Dude,
we were
that's
still functioning under the all ages idea, and I'm like, we're done by 10 at the latest. People are out. We try to abide by curfews and all that stuff. And he's like, nah, it's all right. I already put in a call. And we had a show, Madball
Oh my God.
was playing, and the fire marshal showed up, and he rolls out, and he's like, hey, this has never happened to me before, but we got a call from the mayor's office to come and shut you down.
Oh my God.
And apparently the Old Car Heaven guys were friends with, was it Larry Langford?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and they just told him straight up, we don't want him here, and
I think they
he took
said
care
Oh,
of it.
Larry.
they said
Yeah.
specifically you did not have a building permit to clear the construction that you were doing inside, which was building a stage out of plywood.
Yeah.
And the fire marshal said that without going in or seeing what was going on inside.
Yeah.
Just trying to get you on anything.
Yeah.
Well, the fire marshal never came in. He was actually really nice. He's like, I don't know what to do. I was told to give you a decease. Was it a
Cease and desist.
No, it's a
Cease
cease
and-
business,
Okay.
something like that. Anyway, and he's like, these are the 5 things I was told is happening, and it was the 5 things that guy had come over and complained about. He never came in to check.
Drugs, tattoos, long hair. We don't need your kind of.
Yeah. As a matter of fact,
I mean, there was no drugs though. It's it was
No,
that was a big thing because that it got around. The Old Car Heaven guys were telling people we were selling drugs out of there.
What?
Oh
Really?
my
Yeah.
God.
Wow.
Yeah, at a
And-
Madball show.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And
sure.
all sorts of stuff like that. And like I said, the fire marshal was cool. He was apologetic, and he's like, "I can't come look. I'm just gonna have to shut you down."
So his hands were tied.
Yeah, he's
Man.
like, "You need to watch the newspaper because they post these public hearings, and you can come out and defend yourself and get back in business." And it was a full year later before they had the hearing, and
Hoping you guys would just forget about it.
yeah, I
Whatever.
never saw it. I had somebody call me and tell me about it, and I had to meet up with this person, and he's like, "Yeah, I was there, and they were really coming down on you and saying you sold drugs out of there, and you did this, and had naked kids up in there, and
Oh my God,
like,
dude,
all
that's
sorts of crazy
crazy.
shit." So
Was it still under the name Cave 9? Each
Yeah.
time you tried to move it, you
Yeah.
didn't change the name or anything?
yeah, we were a functioning nonprofit with like tutoring and music classes, art classes, stuff like that during the day. So change the name would have been very difficult.
Yeah, sure. Well, that's cool that you had the foresight to actually do that. We talked to the guy who started Firehouse. Very similar, I guess, to what you guys were trying
Yeah,
to do.
Eric was a
Eric,
big
yeah.
part of Cave 9. Like he was
Yeah.
up there a lot too.
Yeah, like I met Eric at Cave 9 when his old band Wildcat Revival used to play.
Yeah, okay.
Man.
Well, dude, that's awesome. Any lessons learned, I guess, he came to you? It's like when he started getting that, trying to get that off the ground, I'm sure.
He was a Nathan that he and Nathan kind of started together right at
Mm-hmm.
the beginning. I don't know if they're still pals or not, but and then Nathan asked me a lot, and the only thing I could tell him was like, make sure you have a business license, because we got in trouble for that once. We had it, but it just wasn't hanging up.
But still, you guys were able to make it happen. I have so many fond memories. Nick's over here running sound, and both of us, dude, like all the shows. And it's so cool that you were really adamant about making it an all ages thing because, like, obviously we were too young to get into most clubs and stuff. They were 21 and up, and it's kind of hard to find a good place to go listen to music when you can't really spend money. You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, we're broke.
Yeah.
We're still in high school. We all piled in the one friend we had who had a car that could drive downtown, and
But you had to have gas money.
had to have gas money, and usually the admission to get in, because I know you guys were adamant about paying the bands that would come and play. So it was pretty mellow cover,
Yeah.
$5-10.
Yeah, I think we capped out at 15 one time and felt really bad about it.
Yeah, but man, so many rad shows, and kudos for everything that you did.
Yeah,
And that was cool, man. It was a lot of fun. And it wasn't until recently, just following you on social media and your tattoos and stuff, that somehow I figured out, put two and two together, that you're the guy that was behind Cave 9. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel weird talking about it sometimes, so I don't like put it out there. It's not on my
Sure.
Instagram.
Well, you should be
or
proud of
anything.
that, man. It's like, that's Birmingham history. That's like so cool.
You're a Birmingham punk legend, Aaron.
I was on the Beham Wiki for a little
I
while.
mean, well, you deserve it. You fully deserve it.
I don't know. You run into enough people that have bad feelings about it, and at this point,
Really? What do you mean? Just people who had gotten fights or something, or
you
just
know,
had bad experiences?
just complain about it for all sorts of reasons, like just minor, nothing reasons.
The couches were dirty.
Yeah, so you feel a little weird.
Oh,
about, like,
okay.
I mean, just anything. You feel a little weird bringing it up, and it was so long ago. And at this point, we've lost a lot of people. A lot of people have died of whatever reason. So I don't know. There's a weird connection there that I'm like,
Yeah.
I just don't want to hey, it's me, the Cave 9 guy.
Yeah, sure. That's fair.
Yeah, now you're the Sanctum guy.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
you're totally the Sanctum guy.
That's fine.
great.
Sanctum pays me, so
Right.
Well, fast forwarding, what was your start? You mentioned Kingdom Comics earlier. Was that the first comic book store that you worked at?
Yeah. I started working at Kingdom Comics.
Are they still around?
No, they are not,
They're
sadly.
not,
When Sanctum opened, Kingdom was still closed, and they closed in 2019.
they're still open. That's what you mean.
When Sanctum opened, Kingdom was also still open, and they closed in 2019. I think the owners were just ready to retire. They had been open for 16 or 17 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, I started hanging out there when I was in high school. So 2003, about the same time, I was going to Cave 9, and I knew the owners of Kingdom Comics from previous comic shops that they were involved in, Captain Comics. I mean, the comic scene, we've talked about this before at the store. The comic scene family tree is very well connected. I mean, so Aaron worked at the comic strip, and we figured out that he was working there when I was going in as a kid to buy comics, and I probably bought comics from Aaron at the comic strip when I was younger. And so you can trace like the comic strip got funneled into Lion and Unicorn, and then there was a branch off into Captain Comics, and that.
These are all stores because I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah. Okay. So these are all Birmingham-based comic book stores from the past.
Okay.
What was the first comic book store? Curious George.
The first one was actually Lion and Unicorn.
Okay.
And Curious George opened around the same time.
So the owner, the former
Curious George. That's such a rad name.
Yeah,
That's
Curious George's Comics or Curious George Comics.
Bluff Park.
The former owner of that store comes into Sanctum, and he told me that he opened the first comic book store in Birmingham. Anyways,
I guess. No, I don't think that's right.
I'm sure you're up on your history.
Right. So anyway, like pretty much like, especially between me and Aaron, every comic shop that has existed in Birmingham has a vague connection to all the other ones in some way. But yeah, so when I was a child, I hung out at Lion and Unicorn and Captain Comics and the comic strip. And when Kingdom Comics opened, the owners had known me as just, a comic book kid who was hanging around and asked me if I needed some, after school work. And I hung around there for like half a decade working until I had to get a real job at a bar.
The comic books run deep, man.
Yes.
You golly.
So yeah, I've been reading comics my whole life, and I had that experience working at Kingdom Comics, and the folks who own that place, they taught me a whole lot just about the retail side from being there for half a decade. I learned a lot. I don't think I would have been able to operate Sanctum if I didn't glean a lot of the information that they were able to pass on to me.
Sure. Yeah.
They helped us open up too, right in the beginning before we had any wholesale accounts with anybody. They ordered everything for us. And
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dang, that's so rad.
Yeah,
that is rad.
Great guys.
Yeah, I would hang out at Kingdom Comics still when Sanctum was open. I would just go and hang out there. They were very supportive. And, when we opened, I thought that they were just going to be the big fish in the pond that was always going to be there. And, I was shocked when they closed because, they were doing good business.
But it was more of they just made the decision.
It was like a personal decision.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
We've been slinging comics long enough.
They closed with no debt. They were making profit. They were in good shape financially. So they told me. And yeah, they're just ready to be done. Okay. I get it. Sometimes I've done all the work I can do.
We finished the race. You're satisfied.
So
you're
yeah,
ready to move on.
They went out on top, I think.
Did you know that the end was near when you left? You had no idea.
No. Well, so I left Kingdom Comics in 2009, and I worked in bars for long time.
Smooth transition. Comics to bartender.
Yeah. My first job was a doorman at Speakeasy. That's not a bar anymore.
Man. No, I love Speakeasy.
And yeah, I would be sitting at the door reading comic books and checking IDs. Real tough guy, let me see your ID, please. So yeah, by the time I had left Kingdom, as an employee, there was a huge gap between Kingdom and Sanctum. And when Aaron proposed Sanctum to me, I was working at Saturn as a bartender, and I was there when they opened. Saturn's great establishment.
Oh, it's awesome! Yeah, we love Saturn, man.
And I remember when I was bartending there, and I told Brian, the owner, hey, I'm opening up a comic shop, but I'm still gonna need some bar shifts while I'm getting this going. He was super cool and very helpful, and kept me on the shift, the roster, as long as I needed, so that I wasn't strained financially, strained for time, since I was running a comic shop and bartending. But I did have a nice cushion there that I wasn't really worried about money.
Yeah, well, that's cool.
Oh, there she goes.
There she goes.
There she is.
She's being the worst for you guys. She's actually been great the past 2 episodes. I don't know why she's suddenly
Not
acting
today,
like a little
son.
bitch. Lola, I may just have to hold her. So my dog's acting super bad, so she's gonna join the show.
Oh, hello, Lola.
Hello.
All right, I'm gonna grab another beer. Y'all good?
Go ahead. That's
I'll have another
perfect
one.
time
good.
out.
Muchacho?
Yeah, just whatever.
Oh,
Muchacho or Modelo, whatever.
Steve.
Steve?
Steve.
Who's Steve?
That
she's
guy
being
that
so
gets
bad right
Spider-Man comics on us.
Yeah.
Didn't he open the first comic shop in Birmingham?
Steve Pennington.
Pennington, yeah.
Yeah. What?
Collector's Corner.
Oh, so he didn't do Curious George. He did Collector's Corner.
Yeah, he
Ah.
wasn't Curious George. He was.
My bad. The first comic shop in Birmingham was the Collector's Corner. It wasn't Curious George's.
Collector's Corner.
yeah.
What year was that? Do you have any idea?
It
So
was, right around the time of Dazzler #1.
Dazzle #1 came out and they had a big party. He loved to talk about that.
Okay, I'm unfamiliar. So what is Dazzler #1?
So
It's not the Mumbo number 5. Is it?
This is
close.
Dazzler #1.
Dazzler. No.
Dazzler is a mutant. She is part of the X-Men roster. She is a disco singer. She wears roller skates, and her mutant power is that like she just shoots fireworks.
She can boogie.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I have not seen this in the in any of the films.
she's coming. She's
coming?
she's
Yeah.
next up.
I'm sure,
I'm
yeah.
ready for Dazzler. Dazzler's cool. But so I don't want to like get like too boring with like comic history.
No, man, go
I'm
for it.
interested.
Dive deep, brother. Dive deep.
So comics were sold at grocery stores and convenience stores for the
You know,
longest.
it's funny. I got a really funny story. I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm gonna come back to
He
that.
just did. Look.
Let me interrupt you
Go
by
ahead.
saying I'm not gonna interrupt you.
Go ahead. What's your funny? Or is this going to be about hills?
Yes.
Oh, let's go.
Hold your thought, though. I don't want you to forget.
Okay.
All right. So I am not deep into comics like you are. I have a profound respect for
You
them.
got some,
We
you
have
got some good stuff on the
I was
wall.
about to say, you see anything on the wall that's worth anything, or should be? You know, collected?
I mean-
I got a pretty rad Sin City collection.
No, the Frank Miller stuff really caught my eye. I love the old Sin City stuff.
Dude, yeah. I think I've got one complete series that they actually used in the first film.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if that means anything. And then I've got a bunch of X-Men comics. all
So
over the
if you
place.
if you want the really
Yeah, we got a funny story.
primo
about these.
Sin City stuff, you got to get Dark Horse Presents. That's when it popped up first.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
For
so these
first
aren't
appearance.
Dark Horse.
No.
They're
So
from Dark Horse, but they're not in the book Dark Horse Presents.
yeah,
Oh,
Sin
okay.
City didn't have its own
premiered.
book first. It was in a serialized anthology called Dark Horse Presents.
Way over my head. Okay.
Eh,
But
Sorry.
the first, going back to the Hills Grocery,
Yeah.
we grew up in a small town. Well, Nick knows. We grew up in a small town about 30 minutes south of Birmingham, Pleasant Grove, right next to
PG,
Hughtown.
baby.
And when I was about 8 years old, I was thinking about this today. I had to be about 8 or 9 years old. We went to the grocery store, and sitting on the shelf as we're checking out, I'd never seen comics here. It's just like a small town grocery store. Was the issue #1 of Batman versus Aliens.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, dude. And so I picked it up, fully expecting my mom to be like, no, we're not getting that. We're just here for groceries. And she looked at it, and she was like, okay, gave it to me. And fast forward, I don't know what I did with that comic, man. That was my first comic book I ever bought.
That's
No.
sad because that's worth like $200,000 now.
Really?
No,
I was,
not
I was
really.
afraid.
Dang. You should have
I
kept
was
that
like,
going.
I'm gonna tell them the story, and they're gonna be like, "Dude, you could have like sold that and been set for life." You know?
So funny enough, at that time, Dark Horse would have had the licensing rights to the Aliens franchise.
Okay.
So like they made standalone Aliens comics on Dark Horse, and then DC and Dark Horse would team up. So there was like a Superman versus Aliens.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's also a Batman versus Predator.
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
that would have been
didn't know
cool.
There's like 3 of them. It was so good. And they were like,
Now, how long did they run? Because I just had the first issue that ended on a
like
cliffhanger.
4 issues.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they were
It's
all
like,
like
a small miniseries.
yeah, they're all miniseries. So yeah, 4 to 6 issues.
Yeah. Well, anyways, you were talking about grocery stores. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
so
So-
rudely interrupted you. I
No, that's
apologize.
great. I mean, yeah, Batman versus Aliens. That's intense.
I wish I had that though, just for the nostalgia.
We
I
can
may
try-
have to get you to like.
I
Is that something you can hunt down?
I know for certain at
Yeah,
the
we
shop
might
right
have
now.
it.
I do have Superman versus Aliens. It's not Batman versus Aliens.
No, I had it had the cover. It had like half of Batman, and then the other half was like the alien.
That would be
And-
one that we would have to like just put on our list. This happens a lot where folks will say, oh, I'm looking for an old comic that I remember from childhood or one that I read about online that I'm interested in. And You can't order those; they're all out of print. So
Really?
we are waiting for people to bring in things that they have discovered in their attic or their closet.
Wow.
So yeah,
So now that makes me want it even more.
yeah. So yeah, we frequently will buy lots off of folks who, hey, I got this Rubbermaid tub of comics. Like, do you want it? And we'll check it out. And sometimes there's some pretty fun stuff in there that we're able to make a fair offer to the folks, and then have it in the store, and people will come in looking for the older stuff. And so yeah, I'll keep.
So
an
just
eye.
for the record, that Batman vs Aliens isn't worth like $100,000 right now.
I would say
Please tell me. It's
200,000.
if I had to make a professional guess, I'm gonna say it's worth $3.
Woo!
I'm gonna
About
go
$375. Come on now.
$6.
Hey,
I
okay.
will pay $6 to have that again.
If we find it, we will definitely be able to get it to you for a
Okay,
very affordable
sweet.
price.
But you said it's a common thing. A lot of people come in like talking about comics they read as they were kids.
Yeah.
Can't remember.
I mean, that's something I have done as a fan. When I was a kid, I didn't know how to take care of anything, so I would just read a comic book till it fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tracked down all of the comics that I have very strong memories of that just disintegrated in my child hands over the years. And
I bet your comic collection is insane.
I mean, my comic collection is the store.
Is the store.
Right.
Okay, that's fair. Because then it's on display.
Right. At
His home collection is airtight. though.
yeah, airtight, not a turd
Turd
in
in
it. No, my home collection is like very small compared to what's at the store, just because I get to be in the store all the time, and I say folks like, this is my collection, and it's like highly volatile and constantly changing. Because I do get to enjoy buying comics from people and then selling them to somebody else. Sometimes I'll get sad if I sell a comic to
You
somebody.
get
'cause-
attached.
yeah, I was like, oh, but I can see them being really excited about it, and like that's pretty cool to see someone just get so jazzed about like something that has sentimental value to them that they are able to rediscover.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
definitely have the conversation a couple times a month where a comic's held up, and the question is, should I put this on the shelf or take it home?
Yeah,
Just new inventory
Yeah.
or just whatever.
Or
Yeah.
old stuff, yeah.
yeah. One that I did take home that I did not sell was a Detective Comics issue. Was the first appearance of Arkham Hospital, which later becomes Arkham Asylum. So
Okay.
got that one at the house.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, like all the stuff at my house, I try and keep it like really, what's the word I'm looking for?
Curated.
Yeah, just like really curated things that like really mean a lot to me. Maybe things that you don't see as often. Because the things you see all the time, like I can get
Well,
that
it
anytime
seems
at the
like you
store.
would have like a wall of fame or something, or maybe
Yeah.
like a shelf on the top tier where you keep your own comics that are not for sale, but they're just there as like
They're in my office.
conversation pieces.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, they're in
Yeah,
my
he's
office.
got a bunch
for-
of office. I've got some in my station.
Yeah. Sometimes,
They're like
sometimes
the key
people will come in and like, hey, I heard y'all got framed comics in your office and your tattoo station. That
Can I take a look?
yeah, and they're like, can I come look at them? And we're like, oh yeah, sure. And people will come and look at them.
And you open the vault. And you're like, all right, come on in.
right? And
Grab
then-
a cigar. We'll
Yeah.
sit down. We'll talk about it.
right? Yeah. Actually, I don't know if cigars would do well on the tattoo.
Probably not. Maybe.
Yeah.
Around paper now.
Yeah. Yeah. And paper. Yeah.
Well, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds like you guys have a rad collection. I don't guess anything on my wall has jumped
So-
out. Like,
When people bring comics in, they'll bring these X-Men #1 in a lot. And
look, it's #1.
because it was the most printed comic at the time. I think,
I
it was
think
5 million.
14 million.
14 million.
Yeah.
A
Wow.
lot.
So the market is saturated with
Yeah.
what I've just got on the wall.
Yes.
Yeah, so people want to bring, I mean, they're great books, and it was groundbreaking for the time.
I mean-
it's an important book.
Jim Lee just killing it with that connecting cover. So I mean, you got one over there and then one over there. These connect to make a panoramic image. You gotta get them synced up. It's
You got to
like
get the other two,
Oh, okay. I didn't even know
2 or
that.
3.
yeah.
Yeah,
make
I
full
just
image.
randomly had them.
So yeah,
plotted out on
Come on, idiot. You don't know anything about comics?
No,
Damn.
man, he's like schooling me.
So yeah, this one here where Cyclops is shooting his eye beams, it connects to this Magneto one over here. And then Storm and Beast, I can't remember where that one is.
There's a Wolverine and then Storm and Beast behind Cyclops.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a few more over behind the bar. So after I get done, I'm gonna like build my puzzle and
Yeah,
see what all
it's
they look
fun.
like. That's cool.
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so but people bring them in all the time, and they're not worth a lot because there's so many of them. It's a great book. It's an important book. but they get pissed when you're like, I can't buy this. This is worth 50 cents. And
Really? Wow.
yeah, and they're like, no, it's a number one.
No, dude, you don't know what
It
you're
says
talking
it right
about, bro.
there.
It
Yeah.
says it right there. I know comics.
I'll just take this someplace where people know what they're talking about.
So, I mean, I'm sure that's a thing where you get a lot of people coming in, that discover comics in their attic or whatever. Is it at your discretion, or let me see how to ask this question. How do you accurately appraise a rare comic or notice what a rare comic is?
So, I mean, a lot of that just has to do with a lifetime of loving comics. I mean, we've been looking at them our whole lives, and I mean, I can just spot one. Just
On that note, has anyone ever brought one in that you're like, whoa?
And they have no idea what they have.
Somebody brought in
And
a
you're like,
fresh
Aaron,
Arkham Hospital
I know
one
you're
time,
tattooing. Tell that guy you're done, or just hit the pause button. You got to come check this out.
I mean, sometimes, yeah, we're like, I mean, people. One time, a couple of women came in with like a stack of comics, and it was like some Richie Rich stuff, and then just mixed in was the first appearance of Doctor Strange, and like I think both of our eyeballs just like popped out of our heads.
Really?
Yeah, and we had that in the store for 5 minutes. We bought it from this woman, and then there was someone in there who bought it on the spot.
Immediately.
Yeah, immediately.
Damn.
Like they were trying to buy it. I said, "Listen, I just need 1 second. Can I just go in my office and hold this for like a couple of minutes?"
That wasn't one you were just like, this is gonna be a shop owned comic.
I mean, that's the thing is you open a comic shop to sell comics. If you open a shop to collect comics, I can't pay my electric bill.
Yeah.
Like I gotta buy groceries.
Yeah, but you can sell 99.9% of your inventory,
Put that one in the rare
but
case.
then still have the rare, behind the bulletproof glass up
Right.
top. They're like,
I saw someone say you can tell a comic shop is good when they don't have any rare comics because they sold them all.
okay.
If you go to a comic shop and they're just littered with like very desirable, rare, sought after issues, it means they're not selling them because they're overpriced or they're just not selling them. And that's, I mean, it's cool to have that collection for them. I bet they're really stoked about it. But I mean, is it a
Don't be a douche about it. I guess is the thing.
Are you running a shop or are you running a museum?
Okay.
I mean, honestly, I would love to run a comic museum.
I think you could have a little bit of both,
Yeah.
though. I mean, like just have some. I don't know. I don't run a comic shop. I have no idea. But I just feel like some of those super rare comics, they're cool at your house, but it's like, dude, I could put them up on my shelf for people. Other comic lovers could come in,
Yeah.
and at least see them, and then maybe you have that
Like I have
that
this,
golden eagle that comes in and is
Yeah.
like, dude, I'll give you $1 million for it, or make you an offer that you just can't say no.
Yeah,
You're
I
like,
have
okay.
I have a fantasy about a comic museum where there are rare, you have the beautiful display case, with the wood and the trim and like the lights that won't damage the ink, and you can see it right there, behind the bulletproof glass, and then down then you have a flip book where it's high res photocopies, high res scans, reprints of every page, so you can
So you can still read it.
yeah, so you can read.
Yeah, there's a good idea.
So
yeah.
you can flip through and read it, but like there it is, and here are the high res scans of it. Like I always thought that would be really cool. I went to
Is anybody doing that?
there are comics end up in museums. I went to Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle last year, and I went to a panel about comics in museums, and they were talking about how Art Spiegelman's Mouse was curated in a museum, and it was every single page, and they talked about how it was so interesting to see. It was just a conveyor belt of people. They would stand and read this one page and then just move to the next one, and it was just like as
Reading the story.
yeah.
Yeah.
And someone was like, that's the most inefficient way to read a comic book. But I mean, like, it's like
It's art.
no, Mouse is one of the most important comics like ever written. It's beautifully made.
What is it?
Mouse is by Art Spiegelman.
Mouse.
Yeah,
Okay.
Maus. There's actually some news about it recently about being Tennessee banned it from some school libraries.
I heard about
Yeah,
that.
so
okay.
it's called Mouse: A Survivor's Tale. It is it's a comic book about the Holocaust.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
Shout out to my coworker Jeff Moore, who is like a huge comic book fan.
He's the one who needs to be here for this.
I know, yeah.
Sorry, Nick, but You're good. Sorry.
Sorry,
But
Nick.
no,
Sorry, Nick. You suck, but Jeff needs to be here for this.
No, Jeff's a regular of ours. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
I've known Jeff for a while. Knew
yeah,
him.
I work with him.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Far out, small town.
Small town.
Yeah, I mean,
small world.
I knew him. I met him when I worked at Kingdom Comics.
Okay.
Way back when, and then he became a customer at Sanctum down the line.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I've known some of our customers for a long time.
Yeah.
From seeing them at Kingdom and then down the line.
Well, going back to Mouse, I do remember him posting some stuff on social media about the controversy or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's got that series or maybe bought some of those. Has the price, when things like that come out in the news, do people like scramble to
Yeah,
get
is
a
the
copy?
market,
Does
do
it
you see
shoot up?
spikes and
So
stuff?
with Mouse specifically, no. That is a unique case because was Mouse ever serialized?
I feel like it was a long time ago, but it was such a low print run, if I'm not mistaken,
Mm-hmm.
that it was pretty quickly collected into full books.
Right. So with comics, you have your single issues that you have here on the wall, and then you have your collections. So they finish the whole story in single issues, and they make the collection of it.
Is that what they would classify as a graphic novel?
Yes.
Okay.
So I would say the vast majority of people who are reading Mouse are getting the trade paperback, the graphic novel.
Okay.
Now, when that did happen, we have carried Mouse in our shop since we've been open day one. I mean, it was one of the first things that we made sure to order. When that happened, there was a huge spike in demand for the trade paperback because of the controversy. So we had trouble getting it from our distributor, Penguin Random House. But I mean, they just cranked up the printers and made more. So I didn't see any like wild secondary market price spikes on it, but it was hard to get for a second. There was a comic shop in Tennessee, I think. I might need to fact check me on this.
They're
Nirvana.
in Knoxville. Yeah.
Knoxville, Nirvana Comics, I think, and they had a drive where they were giving Mouse away for free for anyone who came to the shop and wanted it, because since the school system was trying to keep it out.
Yeah.
So I mean, they were probably ordering pallets of it.
Okay.
Yeah. And they had a lot of support. I think we donated to that campaign. So yeah, with Mouse, there was no like a collectible secondary market spike, but you do see that a lot with like superhero stuff, right? So there's a new Doctor Strange movie coming out, so older Doctor Strange comics are really desirable. People want to read these old stories and see what their material they're using to funnel into the narrative. When that Spider-Man movie came out, I mean, our Spider-Man inventory was just wiped out. We sold hundreds and hundreds of old Spider-Man comics. It's just like I'm still recovering. Like my inventory is still weak on Spider-Man because so many people bought them, and so when you see these characters pop up in these movies or TV shows, people create these emotional connections to them, so they want to go back to the furthest point back in the comics, and see if they can get as close to the origin as they can, and so yeah, that'll drive up prices.
That's so cool because it's always refreshing the market.
Yeah.
There's always somebody new of like, that's so rad.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
It can be a fun hobby, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that was my next question. You kind of answered it before I could ask. Was with the slew of Marvel movies that we've seen come out, I guess that can only help. The demand for comics and like you said, wanting to go back and
The longevity.
hear the origins, and a lot of the movies, do they stray too far from the stories that are originated in a lot of the comic books?
Not now. I mean, now they're getting more and more accurate, I think.
Okay.
But that's because there are so many like origin stories of everybody. There's well-established multiverse stuff. So even if a movie doesn't have the accurate origin here, it'll be for another book.
Okay. Well, we got the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness coming out, and I guess that's just opening the door for like, hey, we can get all these different actors to play Iron Man, and we can get all these different actors to play Spider-Man. And
Everything
blah, blah, blah.
counts.
And it's
Everything
and
counts
it's all
now.
canon.
Yeah,
It
right.
all works. It's crazy.
The cool thing about comics as a hobby, though, is that like it exists like as like a collectible hobby, but then also as like a reading hobby. This Batman movie came out, and I had someone come in, and they said, I have never read a comic book in my whole life. I want to read a Batman comic. and they don't care. They didn't care about buying an expensive old one. They just wanted to read a Batman comic. And I said, so you saw the movie? They said, yeah. I was like, well, we're going to get you Batman Year One by Frank Miller. He did Sin City. And it's like they pulled a lot of narrative threads for the movie from this comic. If you like,
You're
like
talking
that.
about the Robert Pattinson, the latest.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Batman.
The Batman.
Right. Yeah, if you enjoyed that movie, you're gonna love this comic, and he seems stoked. So like that, I love that. I like when people are stoked about reading a comic book because they saw a movie. Like that is very exciting for me.
So you're rock and rolling at Kingdom Comics.
Mhm.
You're tattooing at Arrow Child. The venue music thing runs its scene. Are we rolling? Are we good? Cool. And then you guys decide to. At what point did you decide you wanted to break off and then approach your boy and say, "Hey, man, let's start our own thing"?
For a while, like you have that list of things you really want to do, as a career or whatever. Tattooing was on there. I got that. Running a music venue was on there. I got that. Owning a comic shop was on there. So that
All the cool things.
Yeah.
I was about to say, was there ever an idea to have all three under one roof?
So, I mean, this
tattoo and sell comics upstairs, have a music venue downstairs.
I mean,
you know?
this I would say a fantasy that we have. I mean,
we've talked about a few times.
we've talked about this, and I'm just gonna put this on the record and say this will probably never happen, but we would love to run Sanctum, tattoos, comics, arcade, music venue. Like, do you remember the Foot Clan headquarters in the Teenage Mutant Turtles movie?
Yes.
Okay, so for those of
The OG movie, or
Yeah.
are we talking about Secret of the Ooze?
Corey Feldman.
Okay. All right. Cool.
OG, just a warehouse with like skate ramps and like a bunch of arcade cabinets and like a bunch of like punks and like people doing hip hop sets, and there's no bright lights.
And pizza everywhere.
Pizza everywhere. No, yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing though. Like, if we wanted to expand and do a music venue and arcade attached to the tattoo shop and the comic shop, we need a whole bunch more money that we don't have. And
A whole lot more space.
yeah, a whole lot more
yeah.
space. Yeah. I mean, like, so we have a pinball table at Sanctum that was one of my goals in my life. I need to own a pinball table.
Dude, I love pinball so
This
much.
dude.
So
We've got room down here. They're just expensive, dude. They're
right,
so
yeah.
expensive.
So having a business was my excuse. It's like, well, could never fit one in my house. Now I got a shop.
But you own it. You're
Yeah.
not doing the mom's thing where they just like lease it from
Lease
Bumper
it
Now.
from-
Nah, I own it. I drove up to Florence.
right.
I drove up to Muscle Shoals.
Muscle Shoals.
Yeah, to buy a pinball.
So
table.
what's the maintenance like on those?
It
Because that's like the hovering, like scary part of
Yeah.
like
It's
why.
a lot of moving parts, dude.
Yeah, so I have I only bought the pinball table because I have a friend who does pinball maintenance, and if I didn't know her, I would not be able.
Well, now we know him.
Now
so
we know you.
can get
Okay,
one.
so
Yeah.
if I buy one, I've got a
Yeah,
connection.
so if I didn't have a friend who did pinball maintenance, I wouldn't have bought one. But yeah, I mean, you have these metal ball bearings that are just slapping against everything and just destroying it constantly. So like, I don't know how to solder, like my friend does.
Oh, soldering's easy.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
Jeff can teach you.
Oh, great.
There you go.
But yeah, so sometimes like things break. You have like a drop target, it'll break off. You have to buy a new replacement part off a pinball.
So you've had to do some
No,
minor
brother.
maintenance
Popsicle
already.
stick right there, and rubber bands.
Yeah. Oh, we've definitely done some maintenance. Take the glass off. So you got to replace broken targets. You got to put new rubber bumpers on everything because those degrade over time. And anytime a pinball hits a rubber bumper, a little bit will rub off on it, and then the pinball is taking the fragments from the bumper and smearing that all around the pinball table, and then you have to clean it. Because
So you get rubber dust. I
yeah,
guess,
if you ever seen like an old like dirty pinball table, like where you can't see the image anymore, it's because it's never been cleaned because all of the rubbers have degraded and just been smeared all over the table by the pinball. So you have to clean the table often. I mean, yeah, it's just
Wow,
it's-
you know a lot about pinball machines, dude. That's cool.
Oh, I mean, I own one, so yeah. I mean, it's just like it's just a giant Rube Goldberg machine,
Yeah.
you know, and like it's just so many moving parts. Like when you get in one and looking at it, it's wild. It's
I've seen a few YouTube
yeah.
videos where they open them up. And,
right. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it would be great if we could open an arcade and music venue attached. That would be something that would really line up with our passions. Realistically, if that never happens, it'll be okay.
I think you guys will get there, man.
Maybe,
You know, that
yeah.
could happen. That could totally happen.
Right. I mean, we've both been heavily involved, are involved in like music venue life. Like I still volunteer at the firehouse at Eric's place.
Yeah,
You know,
okay.
and you know, we did Cave 9 for so long. Like, if we don't have another venue, it's gonna be okay. It's just like that. That's not like it still exists in Birmingham, and you know, I can just go to Mom's and play pinball.
Sure.
Like, or I can go to Paramount. Like, I don't like.
Coming from the guy who already owns his own pinball.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I've got all the high scores on it. And no one can beat me. So
I was gonna ask who holds the high score.
me.
Okay. By like a lot? Or
Yeah.
By like,
Oh, yeah.
I have every single high score.
Yeah, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of them.
Oh,
like
dang.
every initial on that machine is it.
ASS, SEX.
Yeah, it's a Batman pinball table. So of course I've got the Batmobile Speed Challenge Championship. I've got the Gotham City.
How many hours do you have in this machine?
What do you? I mean, you've watched me do it. How many? You think?
Not as much currently. Once you got the scores, he kind of.
And are
Dial
these
it back,
business
but-
hours or after hours?
A little bit of both.
It gets,
Okay.
it gets slow sometimes.
Yeah.
You gotta kill time.
Now Aaron would be like, "Hey, I just saw I got a notification that the alarm got turned off. It's like 3:00 in the morning. Are you at the shop?
What are you doing?
It's like I'm playing pinball.
It's funny. Well, dude, let's go back to when you guys finally decided to pull the trigger. You guys had a space kind of lined up for you, it sounds like. And when you guys first opened, how was the business structured? You know, I mean, is it just one umbrella with comics and tattoos and everything? Is that how y'all initially started?
Yeah, pretty much. On paper, that's how we are. Otherwise, like, Wes is in charge of the comics, and I help as much as I can. Then I'm in charge of the tattoo shop. You know, so it's we're working with what we know,
Yeah.
and anytime I can spend up front, I do. But otherwise, most of my time is spent in the back tattooing. But overall, it's, you know, straight up 50-50. We're doing all the work we can to help each other.
Yeah, because I was like, man, you know, tattooing in and of itself can be very time consuming. I'm sure, you know, booking clients and everything. I was kind of curious what the crossover between, you know, doing comics and doing tattoos and what your role was. If you were actually, if I would ever see you behind the counter, you know,
Oh, yeah.
helping somebody find a book, or you're maybe seeing you help prep his table before he's about to tattoo somebody or something. I don't know.
I'm pretty ignorant of like tattoo protocol. Like I know how to help someone fill out their paperwork if they're coming in to get a tattoo. I can answer some very basic questions if someone walks into the shop looking for a tattoo and Aaron's tied up with a client, you know.
Okay.
That's not entirely true. He knows a lot more about it than he lets on. He deals with so many people calling and coming in and asking questions.
That's a job in and of
Yeah,
itself.
I mean,
man.
it's a huge thing, and it takes a lot of pressure off of me and Justin and any other artists, so that we can actually do what we need to do steadily, you know.
How many tattoo artists are there?
2 full-time, me and Justin
Justin.
now, and we have 2 apprentices at the moment.
Okay, cool. So you guys are staying busy on the tattoo side, as well as I know we've talked a lot about the comic book side, but
Yeah, sometimes you know, Justin and Aaron will be tattooing and someone will come in. It's like, hey, I'm trying to get a tattoo today. And it's like, we're booked up like 6 weeks in advance. Like, oh, for real? You can't do it today? I was like, no. I mean, like,
Yeah.
everyone's tattooing right now. Like, we're tied up.
People that walk in expecting to get tattooed immediately are very, very pushy.
yeah.
I've never understood that.
No.
Of just like, yeah, I'm gonna walk in here and I'm gonna get a whole sleeve done today, and I'm gonna tell them my ideas today.
Yeah,
and we're gonna get
I
it
think
done.
right now I'm booked out 3 months or so. Like I'm booking in July right now.
Wow. Okay.
And people, you tell them that, and instead of being like, "Oh, that's great for you," it's like,
Bro, I ain't got 3 months to
I'll
wait,
find
man.
some-
Come
yeah.
on.
"It's just a little something. Can't you get me in?" No, I gotta go do a podcast. I can't tattoo.
Yeah, that's right. Are you guys closed on Mondays? 'Cause I drove by
Yeah.
the shop. I was going to pop in and introduce myself, and I was like, well, they got the gates up. And maybe that's why we scheduled it for Monday.
That's why we're
Yeah.
here on a Monday.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. 3 months out, dude. That's crazy. So I guess the tattoo side's doing well as well.
Yeah, not bad. Can't complain.
That's cool, man. It seems like I noticed your Instagram handle is Sanctum Art, and it seems like a house of art. You know?
Yeah, that's sort of like the shooting from the hip explanation. People will come in and say, "Oh wow, I've never seen a comic book shop and a tattoo parlor together," and I always go, "Yeah, you know, it's art and art, man." Just
Yeah.
I don't know what. Yeah. We love a variety of art and across different mediums, so it's just smashing together what we like.
Is there anybody else? I guess not local, but anybody else in the country or that you guys know of, or maybe drew this inspiration from, that are kind of doing the same deal? I mean,
Since once we opened, one thing that we started doing is we ask comic book artists that we like to design shirts for us occasionally. Excuse me. And in doing that, I've spoken to a few artists. A guy in Seattle, there's a shop up there, and an artist in Austin said that there's a tattoo comic shop there as well. But those are the only two I've heard of.
okay.
So I think approximately in America there are 3,000 comic book stores. And so
That doesn't seem like a very large number, you know.
it's
Yeah.
not.
Like compared to like the number of coffee shops
Right,
that we
right.
have or,
Or
whatever.
7-Eleven.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Ridiculous.
But then there are 3 comic book shops and tattoo parlors.
That are
So
like partnered up.
yeah, so what we're in the 1 percentile, I guess is my
Yeah.
math, is my math right
Something
there.
like that.
Well, that's awesome, man. You know, because tattoos and comics, that pairs pretty well. You wouldn't see a lot of like tattoo/hamburger shops or something, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't go to a tattoo/hamburger shop.
I'm gonna suck on this chili dog while I'm getting a tattoo.
Yeah.
man, I
The number 6 combo comes with a flash sheet. Yeah.
I think part of our inspiration too is probably Seasick Records. You know, they
yeah.
you know, they have the classic cut barbershop and
Yeah, that works well,
with the record
you know.
store. Sometimes people will joke, it's like, man, y'all need to switch places. You should get the barbershop in here with the tattoos and then get the comic shop in there with the records.
Oh, I'm sure that'd be a nightmare trying to.
I was like,
there's
why?
a
I mean, it's like, well, I mean, they're doing their thing, we're doing our thing. Like,
And it's
we-
all in the same shopping center too.
right.
Yeah,
It's like,
doesn't
I mean,
Just walk 20 feet.
right. I don't know.
Keep going. Yeah.
We one of the people that were talking to me about opening a business were actually talking about opening a barbershop / tattoo shop, and he was kind of pushing it a little bit, and he got to me one day, and I'm like, I'm already committed to this other idea, tattoo shop and something else, and he was mad. He was super mad because he thought I was stealing his idea.
Oh, this is before the Sanctum
Yeah.
came around. Okay. He was already trying to like scope you out and make you join his team.
Everybody loves Aaron. Everybody wants Aaron. Everybody wants a piece.
Can't have him.
Yeah, I got the piece. Back up.
Well, dude, it seems like the shop's doing really well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's awesome, and the whole
It's got to be the
the
dream.
whole shopping center,
Like
man.
younger you is looking at older you, like, yes.
No, I mean,
You own your own, not only a tattoo and comic store, but like a rad store.
Yeah,
you know what I
thank
mean?
you.
Like it's like a cool place.
no, I mean, I think it's definitely like I have figured out how to make a living off the things that I love, and I feel very fortunate to be able to do that.
That's
Like,
a good feeling.
Yeah, like, I mean, I couldn't have done it without Aaron, of course, and yeah, just to have this life, it's a lot of hard work. I mean, a lot of hours. You know, we got a lot of customers, and you gotta take care of them, make sure they get the comics just how they want them, and a lot of attention to detail. But it's great. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, very lucky.
Well, I know they have a lot of events. Recently, they had, I think this past weekend, they had the Mom's Vintage thing, and it seems like they're always doing something. You know, I didn't even know about this recent thing. I just drove by and saw it and decided to swing in.
I didn't know about it either until I came to work.
Until you came to work.
In the parking lot.
I was about to say, with all the different things going on, having Seasick down the street or right down the sidewalk, and then, you have a place like Orr that sells all kinds of things, and you have a bar like Mom's, all rad places. I mean, I guess that can only help as far as the foot traffic that
No,
hey,
you-
let's float down here and check out this place.
No, I mean, on days like Mom's Vintage Market, or if Cahaba Brewery is having a craft bazaar, we definitely see our walk-in numbers shoot up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. People.
Maybe you don't know about it until you get to work that day. And you're like, dude, we got a lot of customers.
What's
What is
going
happening?
on?
Right.
Oh, they got a crawfish boil, going on at Cahaba or
And
something.
sometimes it's great. Sometimes it is a problem. Like if there's a show or something at Mom's, you'll have drunk people roll in, and
yeah.
so we started closing a little earlier.
What are your
just to avoid
typical
that.
hours?
Noon to 7.
Noon to 7. Okay. And that's Tuesday through. Are you guys open on Sundays?
Yeah. Tuesday through Saturday we're open noon to 7, and then on Sunday we're open noon to 4. We've had someone named Hannah who's been working with us and manning the shop on Sundays, and they've been very helpful and very happy to have their help. So
Sure.
Yeah, they're great.
Man.
They're
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, it seems like a small team to be doing like as much as you guys are doing.
Yeah, I feel like if we can, I don't know, pick up a little more business, we'll probably bring on extra help just so like Wes can take time to make orders or, check stock and things like that. And if I'm tattooing, that one extra hand is going to be great. But, who knows when that'll happen.
Do you get a lot of people that come in that draw inspiration from comics they've read, or do y'all have more comic influenced tattoos that you do?
Yeah, it definitely has picked up a lot.
It's like, hey, if I'm gonna get a Spider-Man tattoo, I think I'm gonna go to Sanctum Tattoos and Comics. That would be the
Yeah.
place to go.
I would hope that's where they would go. But yeah, I mean that's what I like to do. So I push that a lot. If somebody's like, "Oh, I really love this book," I'm like, what would look good?
You do. I mean, you're a very well versed artist, though. I mean, you do comic book tattoos very well, but you can do pretty much anything.
Yeah. Oh
anybody asks
man,
for.
I was looking at your work. It's across the board.
Try to be well rounded.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Did you ever lock in? Alex has been talking about this book that the Goosebump
Oh
artist
yeah, no,
did.
I need to pick that
It's
up.
over my head, but he talks about it all the time. Did you ever go get that?
No, I haven't gotten it
We
yet.
got it.
But yes, I saw you guys posted
He needs it.
that.
Yeah, the art of Goosebumps, man.
Yes, and that is so neat because obviously I'm a huge Goosebumps fan. I've been reading it since I was like 12 years old.
I have really fond memories of reading Goosebumps. Remember, me and my dad used to read Goosebumps together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I was a
my
kid.
dad didn't read Goosebumps with me. But,
I mean, sometimes
That's
you look
cool.
at it and be like, "What are we reading, son?" Yeah, like I have really fond memories of reading the Goosebumps series, and when I'm going over, I do monthly orders, weekly orders. I'm ordering stuff all the time, and I remember when I saw that line item, I was so stoked. I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get this in the shop, and like I'm gonna be real proud of it."
well, dude, it was so cool because the post that you made about it, you kind of went into is like the origin of, I guess, R.L. Stein starting the Goosebumps series. And you have to have artwork for the books. And so you want it to be compelling enough to get young readers to pick up the book. But at the same time, there's a fine line there where you don't want it to be too scary or too over the top, Stephen King type stuff.
Right.
I mean, it was pretty scary.
And it was,
Coming from a younger brother.
and
it's
like, dude,
pretty
like
scary.
Monster Blood and like Night of the Living Dummy and all these ones. My favorite by far, Werewolf of Fever Swamp.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. And as soon as I saw this book, I think Nick has it pulled up right now. I was like, dude, that would be so rad to hear about the
No,
artwork behind the books.
yeah, it's a great book. I feel bad now. I can't remember the name of it, but the first one I read was about the supervillain that came to life out of the comic book. Which actually, when they did
I'm drawing a blank on that.
when they did the Goosebumps TV show, Adam West played the villain.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dang.
So I mean, like they really like nailed that casting job, but it's like.
Dude, I thought Werewolf Fever Swamp, both the book and the movie adaptation, was crazy scary. It was
scary.
so good.
Too scary.
And then Haunted Mask, I had that one. And
We had walkie-talkies that were like,
oh yeah, it was.
And I
Haunted
was scared of
Mask.
those.
Yeah, it's crazy. They just licensed the Goosebumps name to, I guess, a company that's like Radio Shack. They're like, hey, we're gonna make walkie talkies in the caricature of
yeah,
the
it's scary.
the monsters from the book.
Another small world thing is I've never read a Goosebumps book. Like I was a little too old for them when they started to come out. But that movie, when they started making the movie, they shot a lot of it in Atlanta. And I got an email at like midnight one night from a friend who does casting is like, hey, we're gonna have a comic shop in this movie, which they ended up not having, but we need a comic shop guide. You want to like send a picture in? So I did this stupid like belly out, like, hey, you know,
Like stereotypical.
yeah, and they're
type
like, oh, the
comic.
director wants to talk to you. I'm like, oh, and then they never did, but it was still like,
I got the
was
part,
I was
man. I'm
super
gonna
hyped
be
for a
in
minute.
that's cool.
Yeah, I was so stoked.
Dude, that's awesome. Well, yeah, I got to pick that up. Do y'all still have any copies?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, sweet. It's
Uh,
got to go on the wall.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
It has to at
Yeah,
this point.
we'll hook it up.
You know, managing your inventory. You know, I guess that goes across basically all retail.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you gauge, like, okay, there's a new Spider-Man comic coming out. How do you gauge how much of a certain comic or book or any product? Do you guys sell anything besides comics? Do y'all sell shirts and stuff?
Well, also, I kind of want to jump part. We're gonna make this a really
You
long
see where I'm
question.
going with that?
All right, let's
you know
do
what
it.
I mean?
Yeah.
Because I watch a guy who runs a video game store, and they're a retro video game store. So he's very reliant on trade-ins and people bringing in old stock to stock his. Do y'all also do trade-ins and people bringing in comics?
occasionally.
Kind of
Buy-
reliant on
Buy, sell, and trade.
what people find in their attic.
Right.
Is-
So, as far as like curating inventory, I feel like a lot of comic shops probably have a bunch of spreadsheets, and I just don't.
For our newer stuff that we have on the web store, we can kind of keep up with.
Right. But it's like, I could probably figure out a way to make it easier for myself, but a lot of it is just walking around the store and counting the physical items that are on the shelf. So, and then
Bare bones, man.
yeah. So, but like figuring out how much of a Spider-Man comic to order.
You need one of those like little clicker things, guys. Convenience stores or just sort of click, 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 click.
Right. So, I mean, we offer a subscription service. So, you know, if you're really interested in Spider-Man, for example, you'll come into Sanctum and say, hey, I want to read this storyline that's coming out every month in these Spider-Man issues. You know, we'll mark that down for you, and we'll put it in a file cabinet for you to pick up behind the counter, so that you don't miss, you know, an episode of the series. So I have subscriber numbers to look at and see how many people have signed up to read this story, and then I compare those numbers to the amount of copies I have on the shelf that have sold or not sold. So, you know, Amazing Spider-Man issue 92 came out this week, for example, and I look at how many I sold. If I sold out, I need to order more 93. If I have a couple left, I can adjust my order numbers to kind of match that or go a little below that, just so I'm not over ordering. So it's just, I'm looking at sales numbers for every issue every week and then comparing that to inventory. And then you asked, like, how many do I know to order? Sometimes I'm just shooting in the dark.
500.
Yeah, I mean, we've been open for 5.5 years, so I have a pretty good idea of like how many Spider-Man readers I've got, or any new series. Now, some publishers like Image Comics is very supportive of retailers, and they'll offer a returnability program for a new comic that's coming out. Right, so there's a new comic came out called Ghost Cage. Don't know how many I can sell, but they said any unsold copies that I don't move, I can return. So I ordered a lot of those.
So they give you an incentive to
Yeah.
like, hey, put it on the shelves. Let's see how it does.
Yeah, so then I see how number 1 does, and then I'll make orders for issue number 2 accordingly.
Okay.
So yeah, just looking at sales numbers versus inventory is how I curate my orders.
That's typically single issue stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as like older stuff, like you were asking about, yeah, people bring in old comics all the time to look at for us to buy.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's a good question.
Yeah.
So it's
So-
like people bringing in stuff. What's this worth? Do you want to buy this?
The older stuff is usually, if it's really good, it's impressive enough to leave an impression. So you'll know off the top of your head, we know if we have it usually.
Okay.
You know, if it's just like a middle of the road, we kind of have to dig for it to see if it's in stock. But that's pretty much it. Pretty much everything's, as far as back issues, are just memory stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I have a pretty good idea of what is in our like old comics back issue inventory. So, like, because I look at it every day. I'm constantly organizing and reorganizing our back issues and older comics, just because I like order. I need
A
order.
lot. I can't keep up. I don't know where shit is because he's always reorganizing.
I'm trying to make it easier to find. I'm trying to make it
But I appreciate your
more
work.
concise, more organized. Easier to get to that old comic you need in our file cabinet. We're buying comics off people all the time, like weekly, daily, just all people coming in with stuff all the time.
I guess I just can't wrap my head around, the sheer volume of what I imagine the amount of new comics that are coming out every day.
Yeah.
We talked about the movies earlier and the influence they've had on comics. Has the comic book industry or printers or writers or, artists, has the surge of new comics, is that shot up in any way?
Yeah, and that's actually kind of a problem sometimes because not with the Doctor Strange thing, but with different titles in the past. You have Captain America. He's really popular, so you want to push those. They'll put out a new comic along with the regular line, and they'll put out another new comic and another new comic. So you have 5 different Captain America titles, and it's really hard to keep up with because most people only want the one, But it's
There can be a little bit of oversaturation
Yeah.
sometimes, but as long as you keep a beat on it, it all kind of works out.
Do you just have like one distributor that you're basically buying from, or do you have multiple people trying to sell you their
For
inventory
our-
of comics?
for our major titles, our major publishers like Marvel and DC and Image, we have one distributor for each one of those. And then there's one distributor among those that does more indie titles, and we can find things that way. And then there's mini comics and zines that go through different publishers. So we work with 3 to 4 publishers steadily.
Distributors.
Sorry, distributors. But there's definitely more out there. But for the big stuff, everybody has a contract with you can only get Marvel stuff through Penguin Random House and so forth and so on.
So is that true? Like, if you want to get the lines that people want, is it mostly dominated by one distributor, like DC official Batman stamped comics?
There's 3. So
Okay.
you get your Marvel comics through Penguin Random House. You get your DC comics through Lunar distributors, and then you get Image, Dark Horse, Boom Studios through Diamond distributors.
Is Spawn
Pre-pandemic.
still a thing?
So, yeah,
Oh
Spawn-
my gosh.
Okay, is he
Spawn's
good?
hot right now.
Spawn's hot right
Spawn's
now.
hot.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah,
Sweet.
people love Spawn.
Spawn is creator owned by Todd McFarlane, and they just at issue number 301 broke a record for the longest running creator run title.
Wow.
And with that, with all the popularity he got from that, he's spun out 2 or 3 more comics out of that.
We got
So-
Spawn. We got King Spawn. We got Gunslinger Spawn. We got-
Violator had his own Rona comics for a little bit,
for a little while.
like really small. We had some. Just decorate the walls with them, but
Spawn is people are loving it, coming in looking for it. He's still kicking it for sure. Definitely like the old school Image superhero who is still very engaging and exciting to a lot of folks, like newer readers, and then people like our age coming in and I used to read Spawn, it was awesome. What's going on? And he's still getting wild. Let's check it out, So
yeah. But it's all under the same. It's Seth MacFarlane's still the main.
Todd McFarlane, yeah.
Todd McFarlane.
Yeah.
Seth MacFarlane.
Family Guy.
Okay.
That'd be a wild crossover. What kind of comic would Seth MacFarlane write for Spawn?
See that. See, and so that segues into the next question. Whenever I come into a comic book store, I'm not regularly purchasing comics, but I would be intimidated to come in and see, I don't even know how to speak the jargon. Like, what's hot and trending right now?
Alex would be the one in there reading the comic and then putting it back on the shelf and be like, okay.
No,
Peace.
we tell everybody to come in as soon. It's like, hey, if you see anything you want to read it.
We got a couch.
Yeah, we got a couch.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Nice to
that.
hear.
Reading's encouraged. That's how you find what you like. Because there is a whole lot, and some people will say, anytime it comes in the store, and it's a new hobby that they're interested in. It's just a conversation. It's like, okay,
There's a stereotype of comic book people that's uninviting and oh, you're a girl, you want this My Little Pony comic and stuff like that. And we try to stray from that as far as possible. We want to be inviting, open, show people what we love. Maybe they'll like it too. Or maybe they do want a My Little Pony comic, which we have, you know.
Okay.
If you want it, we want you to have it.
Yeah.
And we don't want you to feel like you're not invited to everything we have. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just like keep it casual, keep it relaxed. And so someone comes in and says, I want to read a Spawn comic. And I was like, I got some. Let's check them out.
That's wild. That's like I'm reaching to the depths of my brain as far as like my tattoo or my comic knowledge
Yeah.
of like what I can talk about.
Or even it's even something like a little bit like less specific, you know. If someone comes in and is like, I'm interested in comics, but I don't know much about the medium. It's like, well, what kind of movies do you like? What kind of books do you like? I mean, we got sci-fi, we got
Is
horror.
Frank Miller still doing stuff?
Yeah.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah, he's
Okay, I didn't know if he was still a thing. Or...
He had a rough patch a while back where he was very like right wing for a minute, and so he kind of got pushed away. But he's renounced his ways and he's more open to things. But he's so old and has some physical problems that he doesn't.
Okay.
He does pinups, and that's all the art he does now. You know.
Just basically like one-off drawings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I just don't think he has like the physical mobility to be like a full-time active comic artist anymore.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean he's still making art and still contributing to different projects and stuff.
Okay.
But we would just ask you like, do you like horror comics? Or do you like horror? We have horror comics, we have sci-fi.
There's something for everybody.
Yeah.
I know Hellraiser's like really big. Doesn't he have like a graphic novel or comics or something?
I don't think he's had anything in a while. Clive,
Yeah.
Clive Barker.
Yeah, we do have some Clive Barker comics.
But you're right. It's like there's something for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just and so like some people like to wander and find things on their own. Some folks are very inquisitive, and we're happy to have that conversation and help them find something. And I mean, almost all the time we can find something that someone's stoked on. And
And yeah, it doesn't have to be superheroes. It doesn't have to be metaphysical suspense or horror or anything like that. You know, there's something for everyone.
yeah, we have educational comics, and sometimes folks just come in and get the educational stuff, and we're happy to have it.
Now, most of the people that just wander into your store,
Mm-hmm.
are they mostly just browsing, looking for comics, or do you have people coming in that are just like approaching it like a traditional tattoo shop? They're just like, oh, I want to check out I want to see the Flash, and
Yeah, a little
see
of both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I think for the tattoo shop, we usually, for lack of a better description, shoot that down pretty quickly because most everything we do is custom and everything's by appointment. So, you know, we're not taking a lot of walk-ins. We're not going to have a book of
Right.
crosses or whatever for you to look at, you know. So people that walk in just wanting something. They just want to pick something. They don't have an idea. So usually we just, you know, talk to them for a second and they're out the door. People coming in looking at comics, you know, a lot of them will just come check it out because they don't know anything about it. You know,
Yeah.
the only other comic shops in the area are kind of hard to get to sometimes, and you know, they've just never seen one or don't know what's going on in the world of comics right now.
Yeah, I've had a lot of folks say, I was driving by and I saw comics, so I came in. And we owe that to Tyne Signs.
You got a really good sign.
Yeah, dude, sounds awesome.
Yeah, so Tyne Signs made our top one that said tattoos and comics. And he says, I bet this is going to increase your foot traffic. And he was right.
Don't you have a glass painting?
Yeah.
too?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, just having comics real big that you can see from the street, that just gets people in the door. And they're like, I just wanted to see what was up. And we're happy to show them.
Now, besides you guys, are there any other any other comic stores around?
there's-
Still, I mean, we mentioned Kingdom, and
Yeah.
you talked about some other cool.
There's Bob's Comics in Trussville, and
Yeah.
Bob has been doing comics.
40 years?
Yeah,
For
he's
a long time.
like long hauler.
You don't just see comic book stores all over the place.
Yeah.
Unless I'm just not keen to that.
So yeah, like I
I'm not paying
mentioned, there are
attention.
like 3,000 comic shops in America, approximately, I think. And it is interesting to think about that, like, there are these mainstream blockbuster movies and TV shows happening that are drawn from the source material that is not quite as, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just like, there are these huge movies that are out there, and the source material is just not as widely distributed.
It's not accessible.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why there aren't more comic shops. I mean, I don't know. It is like an antiquated hobby in some ways, and like the way I explain it to some folks is, you know, it's kind of like listening to music. You can listen to it on Spotify. You can go watch a superhero movie. Or you can go to Seasick Records and get a record.
Dude,
or you
perfect.
can go to the comic shop and get a comic.
Yeah,
you
man.
know?
Like just the surge in vinyl and the like the almost the resurgence of vinyl, I guess if you could say that. And I'm not old enough to really know the full time span, but I have noticed that it's like, you know, an appreciation for kind of these older styles of consuming media. Have you guys seen? I mean, obviously you've been in the comic world for a long time, both of you guys. Have you guys seen like kind of maybe a depression and then a surge of comics, or has there always been this group of our society that are just like hell bent on
there's
comics,
definitely
you know?
a community of collectors, and they've been steady forever. With how easy it is to find each other on the internet now, I feel like that's kind of grown, which is good in that if you want to find a comic, you can probably find somebody selling it. And it's probably not great for shops all the time, but it's benefited us, I think, because we're in a medium-sized city and not like, you know, struggling to pay our rent and things like that. Like, it's fine if we have a lull, and it's okay if we get busy. But the connectivity is definitely there, and I've lost my train of thought.
So as far
Really
as
rad community of collectors.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
keeping everybody afloat.
so as far as the comic book medium, it got really close to disappearing, I think, in the mid to late 90s. Marvel Comics went bankrupt in the late 90s.
That was before they started the whole movie franchise and all that stuff.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Nope.
No. Spit it out, man. This is an open table.
So like we were talking about your X-Men #1 here, that was printed in 1992.
Came out in 92.
So that was the most printed comic book of all time, and then there was an oversaturation issue, and then
So glad I have that.
the pendulum swung the opposite direction for the late 90s, where people became less interested in the hobby. I think because like the collectible market took hold of the medium so intensely, and people bought boxes of X-Men #2 looking to make a return on investment, and they came back some years later trying to sell it, and comic shop said, we don't need it, we have pallets of this in the back. And collectors who had
We
migrated,
burn these comics to stay warm.
yeah,
It's like not a big deal.
they had like migrated over from like the trading card collectible hobby to try and make some money, and so collectors were coming by to recoup their investment, and there was no investment to recoup, and so you had this mass exodus of collectors from the hobby, and the bottom fell out, and Marvel Comics went bankrupt.
The comic bubble.
Yeah,
Burst.
It
Yeah.
burst.
Comic bubble.
It
Yeah,
burst
man.
bad.
Part of
And-
that was at the top of the bubble when Marvel started. They were really making the money. They decided to distribute their own books, but they had all these weird rules where you had to order in quantities of 25. So if you need 30 books, you have to buy 50. You know, and the discounts were bad for shops, and shops just couldn't make money selling Marvel comics. So on top of money making collectors leaving, shops had to order less, and Marvel lost their ass. And that's when they started selling off all their rights, like to Sony and places like that, to make the movies.
yeah.
Now, were they publishing through Penguin House, or they?
There were a lot.
Or they're
There were not a
done.
lot. There were a few distributors in the '90s. Then Marvel spun off into their own thing.
That was Heroes World, right?
I can't remember what they called it.
Yeah.
But they Diamond Comics distributor became kind of a monopoly. They bought up a couple other distribution houses, and when Marvel went belly up, they invited them back in. So they were the monopoly up until the beginning of the pandemic, and that's when Marvel signed on with Penguin Random House, and DC decided to do their own thing with Lunar.
Yeah.
Because you were throwing out Random Penguin House, and I was like, I had no idea Marvel or they published.
Yeah.
through them.
So Marvel publishes their comics. Penguin Random House is a publisher and a distributor. So Penguin Random House distributes a lot of material that they do not publish. So yeah, they're wearing two hats there. So yeah, Penguin doesn't print Marvel comics. Marvel prints Marvel comics, and then Penguin Random House ships them out.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm educating myself in the comic book world.
I mean, this
you know?
is like nuts and bolts stuff.
It's like Comics 101 here.
Yeah,
I mean, it can apply to anything. I'm sure that there's a couple of microphone distributors that if somebody gets in over their head, you'll have one place to buy them. I think.
Right. So
Well, I'm glad business is good.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's doing well. One of the last things I want to talk about that I thought was so rad, Nick, if you scroll down on their Instagram page, you guys reached out to this artist that did a drawing, deadhead drawing of you guys.
yeah.
I don't know how old
yeah,
this
yeah.
is, but I thought it was the
plastic.
coolest things, and I was like, Zach, we have to do this. We have to reach out to this guy. So I started following him. He's like an artist, and as soon as we get to the photo, it will make more
it will have been
sense.
in October of.
It's been a
there it
minute.
is.
There it is.
Back up.
Back up.
On the
On the left, right there. I just thought this was so cool. Tell me the story behind this. Did you guys just reach out to this dude and like, hey man, we'd love to get some pictures?
This artist, he actually was helping. He was doing these pictures for people to fund another book. What is the artist's name?
I can't remember. Daniel Hillard.
Hilliard. Yeah.
Okay.
So Daniel Hilliard, the artist on plastic, was working to fund their next book, which was called
Vinyl.
Vinyl. And he was like, "Yeah, if you want me to do this, throw me a couple bucks." And so I talked to him about doing us for our Halloween thing, and drew it up, which is awesome. You can find on his page, like he'll do that every once in a while to help fund something else.
Well, he'll show like the animations, like
Yeah.
where he's doing it on his iPad and bringing it up, and I just thought it was super cool because I was like, dude, I'm gonna get him to do one of me and my brother.
Yeah, I mean,
that'd be cool.
and
But
it's
I didn't
great.
know how
It's-
big a deal he was in the world of
He's
comics.
kind of a newer artist that's not super well known, but I mean he does great work. He works with on those books, Plastic and Vinyl. The writer on those is Doug Wagner, who is, if I'm not mistaken, is originally from Birmingham.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a 12 gauge comics connection there,
Yeah, and he lives in Atlanta. Yeah, 12 Gauge Comics originally published these. So Image Comics publishes and puts out books for smaller studios. 12 Gauge Comics is one of those, and Eric Gardner, who is local, does 12 Gauge, and he knew Doug from way back when. Doug actually used to work at the comic strip with me for a little while.
Yeah, I didn't ask. You guys were talking about comic strip earlier. Where was that? Where's that located?
There was one in Eastwood, one in Hoover, and there's still one in Tuscaloosa, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, but the ones on our side of town are not around
the
there.
one the comic strip in Tuscaloosa is the last standing comic strip, right?
Yeah, there were two original ones, and they started franchising out.
Yeah.
One became that one. I think there was one in Auburn. One opened in Homewood, which then became Captain Comics, which grew up into Kingdom Comics eventually.
Yeah.
Okay.
You keeping track?
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
Yes.
There's a lot of
There's not a
history
test after this, is there?
there. Yeah.
But yeah, Daniel Hilliard was super nice about it, and he was excited that he was doing it for a shop.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool.
Dude,
Yeah.
it was rad. I thought it was sick. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah,
Did you say you gonna get one of us? Let's go.
Well, I was going to surprise you with it, but I wanted to talk to you guys first before.
Surprise.
Because he was like, hey, man, anybody just DM me. I do custom,
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
individual.
Aaron did it as a surprise for us, and he sent it to me. I didn't know about it, and I was super stoked.
Dude, I figured you guys have that framed in the office or somewhere.
Well, it's digital, so
Well,
Yeah.
still get it printed out.
The NFT, baby.
Ooh, yeah.
Dude, I feel like I've learned a lot about comics. I've realized that all the comics I have in here are worthless, but they
See,
look cool.
It's,
And
it's
There's
not
because they're
all,
not in order. You
It's
gotta put
not all about monetary worth. Those comics have artistic worth. Those comics have sentimental worth.
well, I'll tell you what, that Batman versus Aliens
I
issue
tell you
number
what.
1, if you can get me that one, that has a lot of sentimental value.
We'll make it happen.
So, thank you guys. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
It was
thanks for
awesome.
having us.
And if anybody wanted to come and check you guys out or book an appointment to get a tattoo, what's the best way to get in
Go-
touch with you guys?
go to the website.
SanctumTattoosandComics.com.
Sweet.
A well-curated website with all the information you
Yeah,
need.
if you want to make a tattoo appointment, click tattoos, and it'll tell you how to do it.
You have to walk them through it.
Yeah, I mean, people call the shop and ask all those questions, and
Okay.
you can find out right there rather than calling or coming in and being disappointed.
Yes, yes.
And buy comics online. You can book a tattoo appointment, come hang out on the couch, read some books. It's awesome. I encourage anybody that's listening or watching to come check you guys out.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And thank you guys so much for coming to hang out.
Yeah,
This
thank
was
you.
awesome.
Yeah, thank you.